Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
A lot.
A lot? Oh no.
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Oh, not a lot. No.
Yes. Big difference. No. This weekend,
Sorry.
nothing.
I didn't catch that. Okay.
My bad.
No. Oh. Airman? How about you? Oh no.
I don't think he's on yet.
No, I didn't. I thought he was.
His text says trying to.
Hello.
There he is.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. So trying to log into Skype, it's like, hey, no, we don't remember any of your information. And I was like, okay, cool. So I pretty much redid everything. And it's like, all right, we got you back. And then it just immediately kicked me off of Skype. So
Did it update?
Nice.
Mine had to update.
Oh.
At least I think that's what it did.
Aaron, do you have your video on, Aaron?
Yeah, not anymore.
Okay. There you go. Sweet. Oh,
I
geez.
mean, it was never on the whole time.
Oh, I know. You're right. I don't
course
know what I
not.
was talking about.
Yeah. Colin's
Sorry.
seeing things again. It's
Again.
Rude.
It's all the
Sucker.
dog hair in his eyes. You can't see.
Oh, poor Kagi.
Oh, we are sitting a bulldog named Rawlings.
Yes.
Ballings?
Oh, Rawlings.
Like the ball?
Yes.
The
Yes.
baseball?
Yeah, they're huge sport fans, sport ball fans.
Sport ball.
Sports ball.
And adding that to the list.
I bet he's so cute though.
He is. He's a little chunk.
Yeah. One of my friends, his family, they had a litter full of Brittany puppies, and he's trying so hard to get me to take one of them. But at one point in time, they had this bulldog, and I think it was like an English bulldog, but she was just so massive. And I was the only one that every time we'd go over there, I was the only one that would give it love. And I'd be like, Aaron, take this dog. It's like, no, you guys keep it. It's so cute. And she would just sit there with that, sound going on. And I was like, oh, this is such a cute puppy. It's so cute. You love it so much.
But that sound that I'm not going to do into the microphone so I don't destroy it is
Thank you.
that's the sound of veterinary bills just going up. That's what that is.
Exactly.
That's the sound of your vet bill rising. Brachycephalic dogs, they always go to the vet. Like every 5 seconds, you have to take them in there. They get nasal infections and all kinds of stuff.
Your cute puppies is what it is.
I have anti microbial wipes that I have to use in all of the folds in the facial area.
Yeah.
Which is so much fun.
Yes, all 7,000 of them. That's the
that go like second knuckle deep around his face. You're like, oh. Yep. That's fun.
No thanks.
But these are the same people that they have two Brittany puppies that are, kind of like what Uncle Gary had.
Yeah.
And
we used to have one a long time ago. Do you not remember this?
Was Jesse? Was it Jesse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jesse. And they try so hard to get me to take one of them. But then I'm like, well, I have to. If I take one, I have to take two of them.
Okay, Dad, that's not how it works all the time.
No.
But then I was like, but I'm never home, so I can't. But
That's
they're
fair.
so cute. They're so cute puppies.
They run everywhere. Ours used to jump over that 6-foot fence like it was nothing. So,
Go. Wee.
yeah.
That is true.
Then that neighbor, do you remember the neighbor that was like mega far away that was like every once in a while they'd be like, yeah, we have your dog. They would call up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
And it's like
Yeah, and I remember mom driving us over there to go pick her up.
yes, okay.
And it was several like miles away if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was quite far.
Sounds about right.
Well, I imagine it was the dog route was probably shorter.
Well, yes.
than the driving route. It was much more circuitous driving around there. But like, yeah, we would just call every once in a while. Yeah, your dog's eating with our dogs again. Like, oh,
Right.
sorry,
Whoops.
it happens. We forgot.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about dogs, and they somehow brought up German Shorthairs, and had a
Listen,
good.
I'm an expert on this. You
I had a good
I know
reminisce
lots about this.
about Jin and Kira, and then Harley.
indeed the
Yeah.
runningest dogs ever. It's like, no, I'm just gonna run always,
Always.
forever.
Mhm.
Run.
Hey.
And I'm gonna keep poking my nose in this thing that bites me in the face every year. This thing you call a snake. I'm just gonna
Every year. Every year. All the time.
I'm just gonna chase
find
it.
more of
It's
them.
this hole every year.
My face is going to swell up the size of a cantaloupe.
Yes.
And then I'm going to forget
Is
about
there-
it next spring.
Yes, and then do it again.
Okay.
Oh no.
You got it.
They were good dogs. They were dumb, but they were good.
That's fair. That's fair.
I made the. I remember one time I was teaching and we were talking about dogs in class, and I brought them up, and they're like, "Well, what kind of dogs were they?" And I was like, "Well, it's they're kind of like the dogs from where the red fern grows." And then a lot of my 5th grade students asked me, "Is like, what's that book about?" And I'm like, "Nope, you are too young to have your heart broken. I will not tell you. Wait till you're old."
that's like the reading level of that book. That's like exactly who's supposed to read that book.
Really? Because
Uh-huh.
we read it in middle school.
Really? No, it's like a 5th grade reading level book. It might even be less. It's not a very high level.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if it was just the chapters. Granted, I hated reading when I was younger, but now
It's
I'm
all
like, read everything.
I think 4th grade was the year that we read all the terribly sad books. Like we read Bridge to Terabithia,
Mm-hmm.
and we read Taste of Blackberries. That one's sad.
Oh, yeah.
Berries.
Spoilers for the Taste of Blackberries. The friend dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, the whole book is him dealing with that. So like it's not
dealing
really
with the death of the friend.
It's
Yeah.
like some sort of bee sting, bee allergy, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we did read that in 4th grade, and and I remember Mrs. Who's the principal now? Whatever, it doesn't matter her name. But my teacher at the time not letting me read that book because Mom was sick, and they didn't. They thought it was. They said it was. They didn't want me reading that because of the content of the book. So I read a different book that year. I remember that. Yeah.
We also read some book that I came across a few years ago at a book fair, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've read!" And then I have since forgotten the title again, like I do. But it was about some sort of ghost in this house. Like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was it was like some sort of like communication between somebody and like a ghost of some sort of like Civil War era small girl or something like that. I don't remember what happened exactly.
I don't remember
very-
that one.
I mean, it was odd. And I remember coming across it a couple years ago and staring at it for a minute and then reading the back and going, "Oh yeah, I've read this." and then probably apparently forgetting what it was called. Just eliminating it from my brain again. So I'm sorry about that. But it was really weird and sad too. So 4th grade was just the year of sadness, I think.
Oh my gosh, what is that? Because I think I was actually thinking about a book that fits that MO.
Just
But because I remember reading a book about the Civil War, and it was like some girl that like I don't know if it had ghosts in it, but there was a girl that fell in love with like a Union soldier.
Oh, I don't think that's the same
And
one.
everyone had like yellow fever, and everyone died. I'm like, oh, this is.
Oh
now
no,
I'm
that's what I'm saying.
sad.
We also read some sort of book about the Underground Railroad,
Yeah.
but like,
Uh,
but not It wasn't like it was like after, like they moved into a house that was once an Underground Railroad house.
Oh,
Is it? Hold on. I can't remember exactly, like the House of Dyer's Deer or something like that. I'm not sure. I think that's what it was.
after I was kind of not really forced, but you had to read like the books in middle school and high school. I think after reading like The Great Gatsby, I just was not a fan of that book, and I think I just mentally shut my brain off because I was like, I don't like this book at all.
Well, F. Scott Fitzgerald, not exactly for everybody.
Yeah.
He's an interesting fellow, right? And that basically, if you know this fact, that book becomes a lot more interesting. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
He basically just turned out as many books as he could to get people to buy them because his wife was like a raging party animal and wanted to go out all the time.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of look at that book in that context, you're like, oh. So sometimes he would write stuff that was okay, and sometimes he would just like turn out like trash. And I'm not saying that the Great Gatsby is trash by any means. It's
I think
good.
I think you're saying it's trash, is what I'm hearing.
I think so.
I mean, I don't love
it,
but then again, I just don't like a lot of his stuff in general. So, like, whatever. But there's some good things. Like that book at least has like, stuff like deeper meaning stuff in it, right? There's a lot of symbolism and stuff in there. So like, it's a little better. But when you do know that his wife was like all about going out and partying, and basically he was writing to support her spending habits. Book takes on a slightly new meaning.
Right. that kind of makes sense. Although I wish that was the same aspect for George R.R. Martin to finish the Game of Thrones books, but yet here we are.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's not fine.
They're going to be finished at some point.
It's not fine. I want to finish now.
That's true. But at least he's not rushing them.
Yeah,
right?
He's not.
Like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, and then I read, I was thinking about like, oh, well, this just means that he's not really rushing. And he's not like just being like, oh, we'll just end it like this, right? So sort of what he's doing, I read this article about it. It kind of how he explained what's happening is he's sort of like, because he doesn't follow the outline that he's planned, right?
Clearly,
he sort of lets the characters develop organically through his writing process, right? So he sits there and like every single thing, because all the chapters are about a person, right? So like he kind of sits down and goes, is that what this person would do? Right? Is this what Tyrion would do? Or that's not, or like if his outline says something, but where his character is like emotionally or whatever, he'll kind of sit there for a while and go, no, that doesn't make sense. Arya wouldn't do that. Like she wouldn't do that. I have to like rewrite this. And so that's kind of this weird process that he goes through, which like, because this is allegedly the second to the last book that he hasn't written yet, it's like taking forever. Well, that means that the next one will just be like done. It's out because they kind of like, the conclusion.
Yeah, because but then again, I mean, the big complaint about at least the TV series is the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, we're just rushed out.
Characters didn't really act the way people thought they would, or didn't have the motives behind them, and so
he didn't write all those.
Well, he didn't write all those, and they didn't. And I mean, there was an interview of the show's directors who basically said that when they started, they were not familiar at all with the work, and that HBO pushed them to make longer episodes, so they started to fill it with just random stuff. And so they kind of got rushed into it and just
that's why I stopped watching
those deadlines.
At the 3rd season or whatever, because I was like, or third or I think maybe when they started catching up with where the books were, I was like, well, Yeah,
like
I'm done now.
After season 2, that's when there was like a big split from the books to the TV series. And I mean, I watched it all the way through, but there was a piece where when George R. R. Martin had like a big like health issue that he told the writers, he's like, hey, if I go, this is how I want this to end. And so I think they
I think they kind of went off that and just sort of like, okay, well,
they're like, all right, so we'll do that. And so,
but again, he's changed his mind. Again, he started writing these books I think the first one came out in 1996. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, he's sat
Game
there
of Thrones
with these
came out in 1996.
Jeez,
that blows my mind.
Yes,
it's kind of like when I learned that Lord of the Rings came out like in what was it, like the 50s and 60s?
Was it
something like that?
Was it before that? Was it?
I think it was before that.
Because I know he wrote it. He got the inspiration when he was in World War I.
Yes,
but I don't know if they were actually like published until like
well
later.
Well, I think because they were published as a series of shorts. But I think like The Hobbit came out in 1937.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just had to reach over and grab my copy there. It was originally published in 1937, and so the rest of them came out, and then he sat. Yeah, they came after that, but not quickly. I think.
And he has a whole bunch of other things around. Because I have some over here. I have like the Silmarillion here, and like what's that called?
Yeah,
something. Hold on, I can't reach it, but it's like the unfinished tales or whatever, and I have like a bunch of stuff
where he kind of does all the like the
random things, and all the stuff.
I don't have. I have to put this somewhere because it's not going anywhere right now.
Well, I mean, when you want to talk about both of these people are good examples of like you want to talk about some dense material. I know we joked the other day about Warhammer, right? Like, yo, Tolkien, what?
Yeah, no,
it's so crazy.
Yeah,
like and the hard part is because he sort of came at it from a history and linguistic viewpoint.
Yeah,
like it's not always just the most readable thing in the world.
No, because when he's into normally studying the development of ancient languages and history, and then he goes into write it his own. Yes. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more information there.
That's how he did it. He developed those languages, like all of the languages in the book, like Elvish and Dwarvish and everything. Like he developed them like in this weird process of like how languages develop
on their own. Yeah,
like I remember he thought about them from like a historical linguistic development perspective, and which is like what? That's a weird place to start writing a book. Like that's what he started with. It's like, well, I better write this. I better create the Elvish language. Like, and like from that, he like extrapolated the history of the Elvish people
in the context of Middle Earth.
In the context of their based on their language. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so like George R. R. Martin, he writes some dense material, but what? Like all of those things have backstories, and there's like histories of the Targaryens and all this stuff. Like I have one of those other books. It's like on the big history book thing. It's really kind of cool. Like, that's nuts.
I'm really interested
to see years of history, like.
Just to think that he was like, well, this is the current story I want to tell, and how do I get all the back history to this point?
5,000 years of back history. That's like me. That's like if I was going to write a book that takes place in modern day.
Yeah.
And I started with ancient Mesopotamia.
Right. And
think about it for a minute.
Well.
That's the Tolkien universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what
the Martin universe, because like it's similar in that it inhabits a world that has thousands of years of history behind it.
Right.
And like, you're just in this one little part, which is one of the reasons why they're so good, because they feel like very alive. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
it's inhabited with things.
Yeah.
It's very full. It's not, it's full because everything has context and everything has meaning and everything has a backstory, whether it's explained blatantly or not.
Like somebody knows, like the characters know. Like you kind of have to sit together, but like, and
it helps the story too, knowing that there is such a concrete world to work within. And it helps you relate a lot more to it because you know that once you become familiar with the way it works and some expectations that you have, it's not just going to be completely upended and be like, oh, and all of a sudden, magic wands save everything, and there's unicorns kind of stuff. It's like you can be safe in knowing how the assumptions of the world and how they work,
which is an interesting juxtaposition to back to F. Scott Fitzgerald for a minute, because he was writing all of that in the context of just right now. So like the Great Gatsby takes place very specifically in the 1920s, but that book was only written for 1920s readers because he was like, oh, let's just get the book out, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So all of that context is just sort of implied that, because the reader was supposed to be reading it in the 20s and then like forget about it. Probably he didn't care.
Right.
So
just a throwaway. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fact that you're reading it literally almost 100 years later now, like some of the part of the reason it's not as accessible to everybody is a lot of the context is lost because you don't have that world anymore. Like the book doesn't have any world building because it assumes that you know all about the world already because it's the same world that you live in.
Yeah.
But we don't live in that world anymore. So like a lot of these really interesting books, like Steinbeck did the same thing, right? He just like wrote, and it was like very of the time. But it's not that time anymore, so it's hard for us to read Steinbeck. Like Steinbeck is also very dense, right?
But like, it takes you having to sit down with a history book, and go, okay, 1920s, 1930s, what was going on? What was the social construct? What was society like? What were they dealing with? What were the fears? What were the previous 10 years like? What were people hoping for the future? Okay, now that I have that,
now I can understand.
Now I can sit.
Mice and men.
Right? Yeah, now I can sit doing
it. Side note, speaking of people that write in interesting ways, I read that John Steinbeck used to go down to the table in the kitchen and he would sharpen 24 pencils and put them point up in a cup.
Ew.
And then he would just grab them and start writing. And he would write with the pencil until it was kind of dull. And then he would just get a new one.
And he would do that.
Again. And then when all the pencils were dull, he would just be like, yep, that's it for today. I'm done. And then his wife would type it for him because he couldn't type at all. And he had like apparently atrocious handwriting. So his editors were like, what no, don't send me this. I have no idea what to say.
Yeah. And everybody knows his favorite pencil was?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was recreated.
Pencils, yes.
In the Blackwing. But
the Blackwing and the Mongol was one of his favorites too.
That's true.
But
what?
Yeah, it's the pencil, not a
Mongol, but Mongol.
Or the nomadic people of the East Asian steppe.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But yes, because he was writing like in that time, for that time, and so like a lot of his work is just very of that period. So when you revisit it now, it's very difficult. Or it just takes a lot more in depth, which is weird because that's why Tolkien and Martin have to work so hard at like creating the history of their world so that it makes sense to you, because it's so far outside of like whatever, right? Because it's such a fantasy setting. They have to really like go nuts on that historical context so that it makes sense to you as a reader. Because you don't have that otherwise. Right? Just like in 60 years when somebody sits down and they read, I don't know, these weird novels on my shelf here about like, I don't know, like spy novels or something. They're going to be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, why did they do that? Why are they so upset about the Middle East? Like, oh, wait, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and those are very valuable pieces because they are a literal time capsule written for a time to a time.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard then when you read it so far removed, as you mentioned, 100 years on, through our context, our societal lenses, and our assumptions that we have now. And a lot of times you try and put that back on the book, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because it's different in societal times, right? We talk about that in history at school, right? Like we can't think about what we're talking about Mesopotamia. That's why I brought it up earlier. Like, okay, can't think about Mesopotamian culture with 2019 brains. Like it doesn't work.
Right.
Right. Like, because to a Mesopotamian, like, I'll just rent my wife out for a while. No big deal. Like, to us, that's atrocious, right? That's awful. That's not okay. To a Mesopotamian, it's like, it's just Tuesday, whatever. Who cares? It's great.
Yeah.
So like, kind of. Now it's this abhorrent, but like back then,
kind of on the flip side, to me, it is kind of fascinating to like read a book like that and then coming back to it later, like either reading like a history textbook or like a video and kind of making that connection of like, oh, this is why they did it. Like that's really cool. But yeah, at the same time, it's kind of nice to know, different time periods.
Yeah,
like, oh, this makes no sense nowadays. Like,
well, this is why people like Kipling become problematic, right? Because he was writing at the time he was writing it. A lot of his stuff is fine, But now,
what did he write?
Now, when you read the poem "The White Man's Burden" in 2019,
okay.
Oh. That's yeah, no, I don't like that. Even Kim is very good about like it's very like it really does a pretty good job of highlighting a lot of aspects of like Indian culture because he grew up in India, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. British man in India, that kind of thing. So it does a pretty good job of highlighting it, but you are definitely seeing it through the eyes of a British person. So there's all like every once in a while there's something in writing you're like, what? What? Hold on. What?
Yeah, let me back up there.
Like it's still very like looking at it as very foreign and like not right. Even though I think Kim is probably to me like the best thing because it is very inclusive and it does talk about a lot of things and like a lot of the people in that book like work together effectively even though there's like Buddhists and sheiks and Islamists and all this stuff. They like you can see how they coexist together at India at that time, right? But it is still through a British man's eyes, so it's very, very odd. It is also odd just thinking about this. I have some books on my shelf that I found at the flea market. And we're very familiar with things like Steinbeck, Scott, right, and a bunch of other things. But it's interesting. If you just go on that, it would have seemed that like 4 books were written in the 1920s. But like the other stuff, right? It just is not like good, and nobody remembers it. If you ever get a hold of some of that stuff. It's so weird, right? Like I have this one is a little bit later. It's from the 40s and it's just called Fools Die on Friday. And it's a really weird detective book, like very like 1940s pulpy detective, like a lot of those like Humphrey Bogart movies got turned into those, but it's not really great. And so It's no Maltese Falcon. I'll tell you that right now. It's not Dashiell Hammett level of writing, but it's like if you get a hold of some of that stuff, that's because you can get in the flea markets for like 25 cents, right? Just random old books that were written during those times, but then like they didn't get remembered for some reason. Well, in some cases, it's very obvious why. It's very obvious reason. But like, it's very interesting because like, just the ones that do, because Scott didn't think that his was gonna get like nobody would care about it in like 6 months. He was just like, write it, whatever, get out. Mm-hmm. But some of these other ones. So if you do that, I highly recommend picking one of those up for a quarter and just like checking it out because they're so. Some of them are just like what. A lot of the tropes are still there. Like if you've read other books from the time period, mm-hmm. Right? A lot of the tropes show up again, but not like well. They're just sort of plastered in there somewhere.
Now, do you think that was because they were copying those greater books, or were those just how people wrote, and some people did it better and worse than others?
I think it's in certain cases it's just like that was the popular thing to do at the time, right? And it was just what people wanted to consume in their media. So they're like, well, we'll throw this in here. We'll throw in this detective agency. Oh, and there's a lady in there. And then they're going to do a thing and blah, blah, blah. And then whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, no, so I think a lot of it is just like the stereotypical tropes of that time that people want to see in the movie. Yeah, it's like now cars exploding in a movie. Like that didn't used to happen. Happens all the time. Every 5 seconds. Boom, car. Oh, well, who's put in there? Just because.
No, I mean it makes sense if I just looking at the media landscape around us today of how high fantasy is back in vogue with Game of Thrones and then all the Lord of the Rings remakes. So it's kind of like. Granted, those are a little different because those are movies of books that were written many, many moons ago. But
that's true. Dance with Dragons only came out a couple of years ago.
Sure, really. But it's just all of a sudden that's what's popular now. So you see a lot of other TV,
but it was always
trying to play off of that.
Yeah. Well, the books were always there anyway. Now, it's just visual media is a different story because like there was no decent fantasy before Lord of the Rings, right? Before Jackson was like, no, I'm gonna make Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Like there was like some Conan. It wasn't good though. Yeah. There was another one that I seem to remember that was in that vein, like really weird, like in the vein of Conan from when I was a kid. Bad though, like very bad, awful. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember watching when I was a kid going, what?
We can be assured that the not high fantasy is just it's such a weird genre of
it's always
film
been
to
there.
make.
Yeah. Film it has not been around very much. It like shows up randomly and it goes away because they make like one movie and nobody sees it, or like it's just not the best. But in books, it's been there for a long time because I used to read it a lot when I was in middle school. Mm-hmm. I remember like those, what are they called? There's a whole series, and it's like a series of like, it's in a universe, like a shared universe, but different authors. Right? Oh, the Dragonlance. That's what it was.
Dragonlance.
Oh yeah. I liked those. I read a bunch of those, and because it's kind of like a universe, and a whole bunch of different authors contribute to it, so it makes it interesting. You can read different tales and different things like that. But that was a big thing. Not like big, I guess. I don't know how big it was. Me and a couple of my friends read them. So
sure. Were you thinking of the movie The Beastmaster and Conan?
I had completely forgotten about the Beastmaster, but I don't think that was it. No, it was newer than the Conan movies. Conan was definitely Arnold in the 80s, right?
80s, yeah. Sorry, the Beastmaster also just came to my brain. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I had blocked out the Beastmaster.
I don't know how you did that, but
I'm gonna do some googling here.
Okay.
Well, because like I know for that was kind of the same thing with like I don't say like the Twilight series, but how vampires and things like that became super popular, and it almost felt like overnight. But the books were, I don't know when the books were. I came out, but they were always just kind of there. And then all of a sudden, it's like pop culture has just exploded with nothing but vampires, or werewolves. And then there was kind of that trend afterwards of like when not like remakes or copycats of like when the first Lord of the Rings, like the first trilogy came out. People trying to kind of like emulate that kind of style. Of
because there's
fantasy.
like there was a bunch of movies that were not good. Like was that In the Name of the King with Jason Statham or whatever? Like that movie is bad. And Ron Perlman, that was definitely the movie. It's terrible. But that was right. You're right. That was at the same time where it was like oh, we'll just do this because people want to see this.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
I'm just sad that more Dark Crystal spinoffs didn't happen or catch on, because that would have been amazing to see.
Did you not watch the new series?
No, I tend to not watch most spinoffs or things that are based off of the original movie.
I often find myself getting disappointed, rightly or wrongly. Dragon Heart. Sorry.
Yes,
that was one.
Yeah,
show it up. Okay, sorry. It was definitely okay. Here it is. I found it. Are you ready for this? See if you remember this.
I'm worried.
Terrible piece of cinematography.
Oh,
Kull the Conqueror, starring Kevin Sorbo. Oh yeah,
Sorbo,
aka Hercules.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, Hercules.
Oh, thanks. That's exactly what I needed.
You're welcome. I just Googled fantasy movies 1990s, and I have this big.
Oh no!
The Page Master. Yo, what? All the Highlander movies.
All of them.
All of them. There we go. Sorry. Yes, Kull the Conqueror. That movie is not good. Just in case you were curious.
I don't remember that. So
the movie was awesome that I just found on this list too. Not exactly as fantasy as the other ones, but the 13th Warrior. Oh,
okay. That is actually
Antonio Banderas.
Well, it has Antonio Banderas. Of course, it's good.
I actually really like that movie.
I do too. It's one of those movies. It's not a good movie, but I like it anyway.
You're right. It's a great movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's definitely
not quite, but it's definitely there. But I always liked it. It's one of those weird movies that you just like.
Yeah,
like, it's not good. You don't really care. You like it unapologetically, like 13th Warrior. That's what I'm standing by that one.
Okay. Put that out there too. Oh no.
It's one of those movies that if it appears on like TV, to be like, man, I guess I can watch this. Just like
here's more. Here's more on this list. Unapologetically do not like Neverending Story. There you go.
Oh no. Ooh, that's going to cause some hate mail.
That's fine. Controversial decision. I do not like Neverending Story.
It has been such a long time since I've seen it. Like I can't recollect it like at all.
It's such a mind trip. I remember trying to make sense of that movie growing up and just not being able to.
No, it's just a whole bunch of weirdness in my brain. Like there's just all this like really bizarre junk that doesn't make any sense. Like there's Falcor, like the flying dog thing, and he's like all weird and flyy. And then there's
like
and I can't keep the movie straight in my head either.
Well,
right?
because
so that doesn't help either, because like there's at least 3, right?
Yeah,
I definitely don't remember 3 at all. I don't think, and then I get 1 and 2 like combined in my head.
Well, and what's hard too is that it's kind of like you just move from stage setup to stage setup, where they just had the scenery and they went, we'll tell a story here, and then we'll tell a story here, and the connections between them aren't really that strong in my mind. So it's just kind of like, you had set pieces and you just kind of use them, and a horse dies in a swamp. Can we just all get together and say Atrax dies in a horse. Atrax dies in a swamp. And Artax. His name Artax. Yeah.
What was
Artax
the
horse.
kid's name?
Oh,
Was it Atreyu or whatever? Was that his name?
Yep, Atreyu. Yeah, his name was Atreyu.
Okay. Right. Because you said Artax. I was like, wait, that sounds like the kid's name.
Yeah.
There's
Artax.
definitely the rock biter thing. And they definitely sing a bad song. May or may not be on a motorcycle at one point. I'm not really sure on that. I can't quite recall.
Just the rock ride a motorcycle? Are you?
I'm not sure. Again, that might be like 3. That sounds like a weird Neverending Story Part 3 thing. I don't know, but yeah, I never liked those movies. I was I watched them when I was like younger, and then like some of my friends like really liked it, and we'd watch it at their house, and I'd just be like, yeah, no, I don't. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. I don't like this. I don't know why I don't like it, but I just don't like it. I don't.
Well, my taste in 90 movies isn't exactly the greatest, because I thought like the movies like The Warriors of Virtue was like the best movie in the world. So
Also,
I can't really say much about like, oh, 90s films were awesome, because at one point in time I was like, dude, Kung Fu Kangaroos, this is like the best thing ever.
Talk about fighting the Ninja Turtle style, like hardcore.
Yeah,
man. I saw that
of a book too, right?
I think so.
No idea.
Yeah. Yes, they were.
Well, it's also very.
Oh yeah, I had this one. I had these.
What?
I had the Warriors of Virtue books.
You did?
I did. I had at least 2 of them because I remember one of them had a blue cover and a green cover and a red cover and all the different colors of the different powers.
I feel like it's very loosely based off the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, right? The Japanese fencer, swordsman.
Brave Fencer Musashi, great game, by the way.
Yeah, that was a game. That's true.
Great.
So
game.
I feel like it was definitely based on that to some extent, like very loosely philosophically, because there are like the 5 elements.
5 elements and the 5 kangaroos. Yeah.
I think that might be where it stopped, but
I think that's most assuredly where it stopped.
Very, very definitely loosely based. But yeah, but again, that's definitely a movie that you watch as a kid and go, oh, that's cool. And then you watch it again later and you go, oh no.
So what about those movies don't let them age well?
Part of it's the acting.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm going to say
a large part of it's the acting.
Besides the acting and the CGI or lack thereof, like, why does something like The Dark Crystal stick with us and it becomes a cult favorite? And like, I think all 3 of us would be in agreement. It's a very good movie, even though it's from the 80s, versus something like The Warriors of Virtue. Is it to me?
Yeah. Number one, go ahead, you go, and then I have a less serious answer. So.
Well, no, I mean,
mine was going to be number 1. The lack of Jim Henson, I think, is going to be number 1. Because the man's genius, and so like
oh my gosh, I honestly, The Dark Crystal, I honestly rewatch that probably twice a year, and I just can't get over the puppeteering that was done for that movie, and
so good.
And just how they melded. It's a live action, but there's no people in it, right? The only people are in behind big costumes. No, there's where they're operating those big monsters, those big animals, as a puppet
or whatever.
The
other ones whose name I can't remember because I can only remember the Skeksis.
But they're not, they're not wearing just costumes. It's an actual animal, it's a puppet that they're wearing, kind of thing.
I heard that movie was also originally supposed to not have dialogue.
Really?
It was. I don't know if this is true. I heard it somewhere, so we're gonna have to fact check this. But I heard that it was just supposed to be the puppets, and it was supposed to be dialogue, but like not English dialogue.
Oh no, you're right.
It was just supposed to be like the made up language of the land, and that with no subtitles.
Yes, I have heard that.
And then somebody was like,
trippy.
"Yo, that's not going to work out," and they had to like redo. They had to redo a bunch of stuff and actually put the dialogue in there. But the original vision was to not have English dialogue at all, or any recognizable dialogue, just the made up language of that universe, and that was it.
Oh, right. It was the Skeksis and the Mystics were the.
Wow, that one's. I can't believe I didn't remember that one. That's the easy one.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's just because it's so fun to say Skeksy that I did not even remember. Was it Agra, the crazy old lady with the viewing thing?
Which I would love to see a movie of just Agra and what her story is, and what are you doing on this weird viewing thing? You know,
so
why
all the time in the thing? Yeah.
Well, in the TV show, the Netflix special, it goes
planetarium, but that's not quite the right word there. I think
no.
But the Netflix series goes into that, and like it explains like who this person is, what she's doing, and how she's connected. Because I remember watching in the original movie, I was like, wait, who is this crazy person? What is she doing, and why? But
for all of 5 minutes, and then it gets burned down by the Beatles.
Yeah, and so it goes into that in the TV series. Of that, it actually explains, and it's kind of weird that they have to do it that way. That it, has to explain like who this crazy person is, but it's kind of neat the way they do it and how she's like actually connected.
I could see that. So here's the thing: sometimes I don't want an explanation. I feel like this is something that like movie studios don't really get. Like, I don't want you to tell me every single detail that happened, right?
Right. Yeah.
So like sometimes it's okay to come into a story just like, boom, here it is. This is happening. And then I go along for the ride, and then when that little arc ends, it's done.
Well,
that's it.
Just
like even in like a weird universe like the Dark Crystal, that's okay sometimes. Like sometimes it is super nice when Tolkien just writes down the entire history of the universe for me. Mm-hmm. So it's there if I want it, but I don't need it necessarily.
Well,
you know what I mean? And I think because you can read The Hobbit by itself
and fully enjoy it and get everything,
And now he went all nuts, and he's got like all this other stuff that's there for you to consume later if you would like to, but you don't have to. You can enjoy it on its own. And I think sometimes you don't need all that stuff. Now, sometimes it is nice, right? It's a weird balance because sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. And other times I'm like, yeah, I don't care. So I don't really know what it is in my brain that makes that decision all the time. Mm-hmm. But like sometimes I definitely just want to jump into a story like right in the middle of something happening. Mm-hmm. I don't need like tons of exposition. Like don't exposit me to death, please. And then just
you don't need that, as you know, Bob.
Yeah. Man, when it's done badly, I can't deal with terrible exposition. Like, so this is a thing that movies do and some books do. They're just like, oh god, why are you just expositing at me? Like, stop it. Like,
well, and I mean, like, TV shows do it. Are really bad for it because they have such limited time to get something across that they do try and explain it, but unfortunately movies have started to do that where there can't be anything left unturned and everything must have an explanation to try and make the world, the universe that it exists in, make sense. But you even think back to the original Star Wars where how much of that world
was that's what I'm talking about, like A New Hope.
The cantina scene alone. Why are you there? What are you? I don't know. Why are they listening to this music?
That's
Why
a really good example. Because if you just consume A New Hope, you're like, this is an entire universe that is full of things. Like, it feels that way. Yeah. But the rest of it is just like a mystery. And you're like, and it's an okay mystery. And that's why it was so cool whenever they were just like letting people write stories right before Disney got a hold of it and was like, no, you can't do that because I said no. But like, just like people did that. They were like, what's that thing in there? I'm gonna write a book about it. And like somebody made up the backstory of like random person number 4 in the canteen. They did. Well, there's like a huge book collection of all that stuff. And it's crazy. But like, that was fun because people got to make it up themselves, right? And you got to do that. But the movie was just like, boom, here it is.
You're just like, it presented to you as full, complete, whole, and we're moving on.
And sometimes I like that because it's like, whoa, and because your imagination can just explode into all kinds of stuff and just like make up everything. It's so cool. But like, yeah, when they sit down and exposit to me every single thing, or when J.K. Rowling goes back like all these years later and it's like, oh, well, actually, no, I meant to this. Like, stop. It's fine. No. I like the book. I already liked it. You don't have to explain it to me. You don't have to hold my hand and walk me through everything that you meant. At some point, it doesn't matter what you meant because what I read is the most important, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point, I think John Green said that. It's like at some point, author's purpose doesn't matter anymore because it's what the reader takes away from it.
Yeah, right? and that what's funny is that's kind of the big issue with the Star Wars of how he kept going back and editing and changing it and trying to massage it, and it was like no, authorial intent is now beyond you. It has now moved its way into the culture, and it as much as it belongs to you and you originated, it is now part of society at large.
To you anymore because it's out there.
Yeah,
and once it's out there, it's not yours.
Yeah,
it's shared now. And so, yeah, that's another really good example of like going back and remaking and redubbing all that stuff. It's like, no, I just want the original one because it was so good. Like, was it perfect? No. Who cares, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Not everybody is Stanley Kubrick and is going to stand over you with like a whip and just like shout at you to do it again, right? That's not. No, we don't need that.
Well, and especially
we have Stanley Kubrick for those movies.
Yeah,
we need somebody for something else, right?
Well, and especially the stuff that was being quote unquote fixed, where it was visually, we'll make this look smoother, we'll add these CG characters, we'll try and do this, we'll edit this way. It's like,
I understand this movie was released in 1977.
Yeah, and I can see how there would be that urge to go, especially if you're a film creator for that weird span for that transition from when everything was done, in real life with sets and models, and then transition into CGI to start looking back at your previous stuff. Like, I can see how it would be tempting to go back and go, no, let's mess with this, let's fuss with this, let's massage this way. But
but does it facilitate storytelling? Because at the end of the day, even though it's visual, it is still a storytelling medium. So if it doesn't really facilitate the telling of the story, it's not important, and it's not helping me, the audience member, at all. Especially when you're going back and like redoing it, that's when it's like even worse. But I mean, think about it when you make it in the first place. Like, famously, Jaws is really good on accident.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Like,
the reason that movie, talk about copied into oblivion. Like, don't show the monster till the end. Right? That's what happened in Jaws. Because it was broken and it didn't work and they couldn't fix it. And so they're just like, well, just shoot the movie anyway. And they just
keep going.
Shot all this stuff without it because it was broken. And then so you just had this menacing off-screen presence that showed up later, right? And this is mimicked all over the place. Like, famously, like Jurassic Park, right? Like, where's the T-Rex? No one knows.
No,
right? Because they didn't wait quite as long. Couldn't quite hold on to it long enough. But like,
Well, there's another good example, Steven Spielberg, in how he hasn't gone back to his original films and futzed with them and messed with them to try and, he could have very easily 10 years ago decided, you know what, we need a CGI shark swimming and 20 minutes into the film just so we can visually see it dive beneath the waves. That could have been done, but he didn't.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Don't give me any ideas, but I need to redo this part of ET.
Okay, well now in E.T., I think they did mess with that. Was that the one where they were originally carrying guns and then they edited him to be walkie-talkies or something?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so he's not completely innocent in this.
That's true. Okay, well, again, more controversy. I don't really love E.T. either, so
okay. So
I always found that movie very boring.
It is very boring. You're not alone in that.
Yeah. I know a lot of people love that movie too. And it's fine. It's good. But yo, come on. That's boring. Don't do Jurassic Park. It's fine.
Okay.
The first one is good.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ugh. Are they not? I was trying to think of something with Jurassic Park that I had heard. Oh,
yes, Jurassic Park 2 does still exist. So
okay, good. Woo.
I don't know if good is what.
No, I was gonna say, they're bringing back some of the original cast from the first Jurassic Park for the latest movie that they're making.
I saw that.
Where they're gonna,
Dr. Grant.
Yes, and who else? I think it was 2 or 3 of them they're bringing back to be in that, which I don't know. I think that's a little, just move on. It's not Jurassic Park anymore. It's Jurassic World. It's just a whole nother thing, but whatever.
That's true. I didn't see the most recent one.
I haven't seen.
You're not missing much.
The World, right?
Yes.
That was the first one they redid there. Not redid, but like the number 4, right? Is that officially number 4?
Right.
Jurassic World. I like that one. I like that one. Because it's like unapologetically dinosaurs eating people movie. And it's like doesn't take itself very seriously. And it's just like, oh, check out this cool stuff. Oh, hey, we're going to do these weird things. Like, okay, that's cool. But in the end, the movie's like weird and stuff. The end makes up for everything. I don't care. The end of that movie is like, all right, that was cool. That was awesome. I don't care. I forgive anything that happened. The end was awesome. So like,
yeah, I haven't.
Because it's exactly the dinosaurs biting things that you just want to watch. Like,
oh, no, okay. So it's kind of just gives into what the rest of the movies were kind of holding back on. Of no, we're not going to have this. We're going to have one guy eaten out of a toilet and another guy attacked by the side of the road. But
you like that one? No, the first one is good. Like I like the first one.
Yeah.
But like we're like 3, it does all that weird stuff. You're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
And then I was going to say, I'm really looking forward to back to our Lord of the Rings discussion. What Amazon bought the rights to the Lord of the Rings material.
Oh yeah,
and they're going to be making a TV series about that. But the exciting part is that the Tolkien family has input on what they can and can't produce, and apparently the rights that they bought were strictly to the writings and not to be expounded or added to, something like that. So
what are they focusing on in that show? Do you know? Do we know?
It was it's prequel. It's prequel stuff to the Middle Earth. So it's the history before we get to Middle Earth, I think.
So like way old, like Second Age stuff, like really old.
Ooh.
Wow. Oh dear.
Yeah, I think. Let me.
Because I didn't ever. I haven't read too much about it because I always just heard that it was in development, but I didn't know exactly what material they were focusing on.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one where it talks about like the 2 elves, and there's like a complete love story? Is that? I remember there was a book that he wrote, and I think
that's true.
What's it was like their adventures. But I didn't know if that was what it was going to be about, or
yeah.
I know. I think they are talking about about the build up to Middle Earth. And so, I mean, there's a lot.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you again, he did there's just like a little bit of lore laying around, right? It's like literally everything.
Yeah, there's YouTube videos that I watched that talks about like the creation of like the world, not like through his stuff, but like that historically happened. And each video is like 30 minutes long. And it talks in and has like all the characters that it talks about, and I was like, my head hurts, and this is not even for a class. Like I just wanted to learn what's going on, and it's
about like the where the wizards come from, and like
like all those
gods that are there, and like those are nuts.
Yeah, I don't think it goes back that far. I think they're just going to focus on I think they're just going to focus on the Second Age, and that's kind of where the Numenor is being founded and expanding, and Sauron is around and coming back and forth. And this is right in the middle of this is where the Ring of Power is created. Yeah. And it starts to work its way through, and some of those deceptions and lies through all the races start to happen. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that they can bring in here.
Sweet.
I'm very excited about that. And yeah, they said it's all with some oversight by the Tolkien family. So
that's good.
That's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Neat.
That's very interesting. You want to go back to New Zealand mostly is when you're like, no.
Okay. I mean, let me know when we're going.
Oh man! Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Okay, let me.
Such a long flight though. Oh my god,
plane flights real quick.
Hobbiton in New Zealand.
Yeah, the thing that makes me the most like sad is that when I was there, I was like a mile and a half away from that.
Oh,
it was just like there. Like no.
Okay, well,
I drove to the town it was in at like nighttime. Like no.
I think this means we need to have a on location live podcast live podcast.
Oh dear.
Okay. I think that's what we're gonna do. Oh man, do you have school tomorrow, Brandon?
Yes, I do.
Ugh.
Lovely weather for school.
Yeah, I know.
Nice and frozen.
Oh my gosh!
So excited.
Are you guys supposed to get a lot of snow?
I don't really know. Rain. I've heard a lot about rain.
Okay.
And it's still gonna be the 30s tomorrow, so that's fun.
Yeah. It hits almost 70 up here today.
Yeah, it did hit 70 down here. And tomorrow's gonna be like 35 and rainy.
Yeah.
And I definitely have an assembly tomorrow that I have to go outside to get to the building that the assembly is in.
Oh no!
I'm not very excited about this.
Yeah, and then tomorrow,
traveling to the assembly. That's the part. I'm like, no.
I'm just looking at this right now. Tomorrow is north winds at 21 miles an hour, 31 degrees, and then tonight's low is 12.
Yeah.
It's the first time I really looked at this. It's terrible.
I was gonna say I just got a notification that there's a wind advisory in Oklahoma. Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. But
this weekend was, it was super nice, and I don't have work tomorrow because, I'm a state employee, so I don't have work. So Aaron's gonna stay up and play video games. But I will say that Aaron went on an epic adventure this weekend, into which there's something called a paranormal circ that travels. I'll get there. That travels around the country, and there's one in Bartlesville this weekend. And so imagine a Cirque du Soleil, but like
ghosts,
Halloween, and like a haunted house theme.
That's interesting.
And
so I'm not gonna lie. Interesting is not the word that I would use.
Exciting.
Awesome is the correct word.
No.
So it's
no
thrilling.
No. It does not sound appealing at all.
Titillating.
I'm confused. How do ghosts climb rope?
It's not like anything like that. But the show is actually R-rated.
When you say Cirque du Soleil, I'm thinking like flying around on a ribbon, right? Like
okay, so there was that. There was
why
that.
Is it R-rated?
What? Let me get there.
They're ghosts. They're scary.
No, so it's a very adult humor oriented,
like a burlesque show. Is that what that is?
Burlesque?
No, it was not a burlesque show.
Really?
You know what? Never mind. I'm done. Next story.
No, I'm curious.
Nope.
Okay,
Google it. Google it yourself. I'm
done. I'm muting my microphone. You may talk.
Nope. Aaron's done.
So
I was going to tell you about my epic date that I went on, but nope. You guys make fun of me.
What? Whoa.
What? Nope.
What? Nope. Okay. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I take it back.
No.
Was she a dancing ghost?
Was she a dancing ghost?
All done.
Okay. No.
Aaron's done.
Was it your or her idea to go to this extravaganza?
No, I told you I'm done. It was actually my idea, but I'm done.
How did it go?
You guys gonna make fun of me now?
I'm gonna try to hold my tongue.
So I'm gonna mute myself. Tell me about it.
All right. So it's like a haunted house, but it's a like performance, kind of like a circus ordeal. It's R-rated. There is, it's like adult humor. It's not a burlesque show, so, but it's very, and it has the acrobatics of like a Cirque du Soleil. Like there is a gentleman flying on the big ribbon thingies. There are acrobats and there's magic and stuff like that. But it's just a horror themed show. And like there wasn't anything gruesome or gross, but it was just like it's pretty much for adults only. Like there's like no children. If there are children, they have to make sure they have these wristbands on because people got pulled on stage for things. And so it was interesting. It was quite interesting.
Sounds nuts. Did you get pulled on stage?
No, I made sure because there was a little.
You hiding in the back? Like nope.
There's the little ticket thingy that you go to their website, and it's just like there's a warning on the little ticket slate that's like these seats will be pulled for people to participate.
Okay, got you.
And so they're like the front row seats, and there's like a few on the side.
Yeah, by the aisles where they can get you out.
Yeah, and so I made sure to sit like in the middle section, like in the
middle back, right?
Yeah, so
safe.
Yeah, but what they would do is that they had like these, and it was actually it was kind of weird because it was in this massive tent, like in the parking lot in Bartlesville. But like it was like it wasn't concrete or the parking lot. It actually had like floors that they installed and all these things. And I was it got
stage
to like
floor kind of.
Yeah, and it was just like, and they had these bleachers. But what kind of freaked me out is that they would like walk underneath the bleachers and reach out and grab your feet.
Yeah, no, that's messed up.
That was kind of terrifying. The poor lady next to me got like grabbed like 3 times, and I think she had a heart attack. But it's very interesting. It was unique. It was something that I was not expecting in Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
That's true. The only thing that I could really envision right now is like a weird cross between Cirque du Soleil and Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah. So I would say you're pretty much accurate.
Right. That's what I have in my head right now. It's like Mr. Dark's Carnival, but with slightly more high flying.
Yeah.
But like that level of like really bizarre, like sideshowy, but like weird sideshowy, like
it was kind of more tamed in that aspect, but it's thinking about and visualizing what you're imagining. It's pretty much exactly what was.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've got in my head here.
Yeah, and it was just like it was actually my supervisor that was like, "Hey, there's this thing going on," and I was like, "Tell me more." And then he sent me a link. I sat there for a good like 30 minutes. just like Googling and doing research on whatever this was. And I was like, I'm going to get tickets.
Yeah. One more small joke is that whenever you kept saying there was a man flying around, I just also envisioned him flying around on a broomstick. Like that's what I
broomstick?
Like Harry Potter, like flying around.
No,
like
was it the Nimbus 2000? Come on, tell me.
No, they had none of that cool things, but they had like this presenter, and he was like a warlock, and there was magic involved, and yeah, it was just it was again it was just very interesting for Bartlesville, Oklahoma, but right. they travel around the country, and I was like, you guys picked Bartlesville, really? All right.
I mean,
but
that's weird. Yeah. I'm having a really hard time reconciling what this visually looks like in my head.
Well,
I also keep getting images of like Bloodborne, which is mildly disturbing. I don't know, that doesn't need to be in there.
But it's not that dark and depressing, but it's called Paranormal Cirque, Cirque. Paranormal Cirque.
Is it like is it based on Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Because it really sounds like it should be.
It really sounds like they had missed a huge opportunity to have that carnival that comes through.
Yeah.
Let me go to the friggin' Google page.
Yeah, I can't be bothered to Google right now. I'm sorry, my fingers.
Yeah, just looked up movies.
That's very cold. It's very cold up here in the north.
It's like 50 degrees here, so. But oh yeah, it's very
cool. Yeah, that's a weird tent. I must say, Google has shown me a very distinguished, like unique tent structure happening.
Yep.
Huh. So it was fun. Both of you had fun.
Oh yeah, it was. Again, it was something that was like, is this what we're doing on a Saturday night? Like, yeah, I guess. And yeah, it was very, very interesting. But the little kid came out of me. People like flying around or doing like these crazy magic things, because it was like what Brandon said earlier, like there was a quote unquote story, but they didn't have to explain anything. I could just literally turn my brain off and enjoy something as, number one, as unique and crazy as it was. And just it's like, do you remember when we went to go see David Copperfield?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was kind of, it wasn't as cool as David Copperfield, but it was just kind of like, wow, this is appealing to my inner child and my imagination. And there's a little person on a pedal bike with a chainsaw. Like, that's out of the ordinary, but this is so cool.
I mean, David Copperfield, I do seem to remember there was ghosts flying around in that room. So.
I definitely remember that, but there was no ghosts that flew around the arena that was the tent. But it was fascinating.
Well, that's exciting.
And yet awesome. But I was trying to tie that in with the mystery, but I just got tired halfway through, and I'm like, you know what? They'll figure it.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you did not ride the carousel.
No,
you're not supposed to do that. Bad things happen.
Yeah. Don't ride the carousel. Okay, that's as long as you didn't do that. That's good. Did you see a lightning rod salesman?
No.
Okay.
But I think there was a prop.
You might want to just drop a copy of that movie off to him next time and just be like, hey guys, why don't
you guys seen this? This is crazy.
Read the book. Hey guys. Hey, you guys heard of Ray Bradbury? Have this. Take this.
You need this.
You need this. Just do some of this. Trust me. Like a really vague. Was there like a person? Wasn't there like a frozen person in that movie? In that book too?
Frozen?
Right?
Yeah.
Like a lady who's like frozen or something?
Yes. What was the deal?
I don't know, but like they were like lusting after her because she was like a beautiful person, like a beautiful lady, but she was like Snow Whiteified, right? Like she couldn't. I don't remember exactly. It has to do with it has.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, that's true. It has to do with the themes of like longing for youth, right? Like the old men were like lusting after her because she was young and beautiful, and they wanted to be young so they could be by her, right? It was that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes. Oh, well, we need to hear more about this date later. You can tell us more. Hoping it can be a follow-up. Be fun.
Yes.
You have a 5-page report on Paranormal Cirque due by Friday, and then once we have discussion, I might let you know about the state.
I'll just watch something wicked this way comes. It's fine. Also, I seem to recall the opening song of that, like the opening theme of the movie, right when the train is coming and stuff. If you just watch that, close your eyes and you'll go, Star Wars theme? What? Because they definitely like rip off a lot of the Star Wars theme in that thing.
Yeah.
There's definitely some like Imperial March in there, and you're like, wait,
what year did that movie come out?
I don't know.
What?
I remember I watched it in high school because we had that was our sophomore reading book, was Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Gosh.
It was originally published in 1962.
Yeah, because Bradbury was doing things then, but like...
Yeah. I was just trying to see.
The movie is definitely an 80s movie.
83.
Yeah.
1983.
Ah. Did not realize it was a book, but all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ray Bradbury.
We didn't really get to read a lot of cool books like that in high school, weirdly enough.
We read the weird ones. Like when people now, they're like a lot of people now, like or at least at our school, they read like Huck Finn. Great Gatsby is one on the sophomore reading list. We definitely read Something Wicked This Way Comes. Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
What?
Uh-huh.
Like
I didn't have to read that book.
That's a great one to read.
That book is messed up.
No, that one was. I remember reading that in grade school and then rereading it later, and it was just like it had been completely shut out of my brain after I had read it in
grade school.
Well, not grade school, but middle school and high school.
That was our freshman book.
Freshman year, yeah. Sorry, I for some reason grade school just because whatever. Anyway,
the kids are grade school age.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I remember reading that in high school and then rereading it several years later and just being like, why did they let us read this? This is not an okay book. Like,
more fun facts. The author of that book was a former teacher.
Well, that makes a lot of sense when you think about how he wrote that.
You can tell that he really loved children.
He
thought they were great. Yeah. He had a great experience teaching in prep school, I guess.
Oh, poor Piggy. Oh, no.
Why did you have to go there? I was going to leave that one alone.
Oh.
The stupid conch shell. Right? Leave the conch shell alone.
Yeah. I didn't have to read that book. But I read a lot of, it was because of Mrs. Shriver. We read a lot of Shakespeare.
Well, yeah, everybody reads Shakespeare.
And then, Great Gatsby.
I don't remember which one we read. I feel like we read Macbeth.
Where the Red Fern Grows.
Hamlet. We read some Hamlet.
I didn't have to read Hamlet. Grapes of Wrath, read that one. And then we watched the movie on it, and I was like, well, this is sad.
Yeah.
It's not happy fun times.
No.
Yeah, because the list will come to me. It'll come to me at like 4:00 in the morning. Like, oh, we read this book, and this book. But yeah, I didn't have to read like Lord of the Flies.
Definitely read Beowulf senior year.
I didn't have to read that. I read some of these books like when I was in college. But the funny part was, being for history classes, you have to have like all these history books, and then you read them, and then you're supposed to talk about them. I didn't really read that much in college. Like pretty much just like Google searched or watch a YouTube video of them. They pretty much gave me the answers enough to have a discussion. And plus, some of these books that I had to buy were like $50. I'm not spending that much for one semester. Like, come on now.
But, so Aaron's top tip for making it through college: don't read, Google.
Yeah, don't buy the $80 book that you're only going to use once.
I don't condone this. You can sell it back. It's fine.
No, then you get like $4
buy
back.
used.
I'm like, no,
it's fine. Buy used.
No, Brandon, you heard it. This week's top tip for passing college: just Google it.
So I actually kept a lot of the books that I actually did read in college, but a lot of like the other ones, and I was like, man, I don't want to like Master Margarita. I bought that book. I have that book, but then in the same class, I was supposed to read like another Russian novel, but the OSU bookstore was like, we're selling this book for $90, and then Amazon's like, $20. I'm like, click.
Yeah. Was it Dostoevsky? Was it Brothers Karamazov? Was it that one?
No, I can't remember which one it was.
Anna Karenina. I'm running out of Russian novels.
Cool.
I only know Tolstoy and Dostoevsky.
Well, they didn't really allow a lot of.
Oh, and One Day in the Life of Ivan Desunovich. I know that one.
I did have that book.
That's an uplifting story.
Yeah, but when you're feeling really bad about your life, go ahead and read that one.
Spoon, guys. You got to think of the spoon.
It's the best spoon.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Oh man. Yeah.
That's the opposite. That's reading the book to understand the social climate, right? That's the other way. That's the exact opposite of what we were talking about earlier with F. Scott Fitzgerald, right? This one is one that keeps it in a time capsule. So you just go back and read it and you go, oh no.
Why? That's terrible.
Yes. So there you go.
But we'll and on that disappointment,
that happy note.
Oh.
Here you go. Something to look forward to. Maybe in the new Lord of the Rings universe on, did you say Amazon? Is that what you said?
Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon. That's good to have that. That's nice. Maybe the Blue Wizards will make an appearance. So that'd be nice.
Finally.
You get to see them.
Oh yeah.
You get to see what they've been up to, because they apparently are too busy to bother when the world is in danger. So we'll get to see why.
Yeah. Well, or we'll just learn to hate them more if they're like, well, if it gets really bad, we'll just leave.
That's true. So you get to figure out why they decided to go away when the world was in the most peril and leave us with,
I actually remember
who turns out to
watching.
Not be good.
They were mentioned in one of the videos that I watched, but it was just like, oh, by the way, here's this.
Yeah, and it's like there's 5 wizards.
Excuse me.
Yeah, those videos are like, yeah, there's 5 wizards. You're like, wait, what? 1, 2, 3. 5? Where's the rest? Where's the other 2? They're like, yeah, there are 2 blue wizards, and also I want to know why there is a white, a brown, a gray, and 2 blue wizards. What?
Well, so I actually think that in like one of the books, it literally says like, and the blue wizards went into like the eastern lands. Chapter 4, and it's just like,
I think it's like,
you come on.
The one vague token thing. Like, wait a minute. Wait.
Uh-huh.
That was code for hold on. I'll get to it later. I got to talk about the history of the Dwarvish language.
I have to do a few more things.
Just hold on. I'll get back to that. I'll put that on the back burner for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's something we can hope for.
Who are the blue wizards?
Blue.
Next podcast can be all about theories. We'll go and do our own research, and we'll come back with our own theories.
Okay. Be the Blue Wizard recap or something. There we go. Got it. Okay. Got it. Typing my notes. And, okay. Well.